Anxiety disorder help comes in many guises: medication, self-help, therapies. Let me address these in turn. Anxiety disorder help must address a certain part of the brain. It has to create curative results. Medication doesn't do this. Medication can have a soporific effect. It can make you feel drowsy. With sedatives, you can feel relaxed, so it takes the edge off your anxiety. With beta blockers, it can slow your heart rate so that the intensity of the anxiety is lessened. Antidepressants are completely misguided. Yes, they can have a soporific effect. They may be able to lift your mood, but curatively, they don't offer anything for anxiety disorders. Let's move on to therapies: CBT, NLP. These talking therapies have their merits, but curative, no. In many cases, they can be counterproductive. There are elements of these therapies that allow you to practice being anxious, actually. Things like keeping anxiety diaries, grading your anxiety. All of these activities focus you on your anxiety, and what you're trying to do is forget your anxiety disorder. How can making it more conscious possibly help you to forget it? What about self-help? Well, there's self-help and there's self-help. Some self-help in e-books or books you buy through shops, they provide some practical tips that can be quite useful. It might provide you with some relaxation exercises and devices to help you undermine the severe symptoms of anxiety. But are they really anxiety disorder help? Not really. They don't provide a structured and targeted anxiety elimination program. Let me explain what I mean by this. Anxiety disorders develop when you experience an initial catalyst that has pushed your anxiety level up to a high level. So this could be stress, bereavement, marriage problems, financial problems. Whatever the initial catalyst was, that isn't the cause. The cause of the anxiety disorder is the way your subconscious mind reacts to that catalyst. Now, the anxiety control center, which is a pair of organs in the brain called the amygdala, act rather like an anxiety thermostat, in as much as they detect the outside world. They receive data from the outside world from the sensory organs. And this data tells the amygdala whether or not there's anything in your environment to be frightened of. When that data is collected and a sensible decision is made, for example, if a dog ran up to you barking, your sensory organs would see the dog, hear the dog, feed back to your subconscious mind, to the amygdala, and the amygdala would say, yes, there is definitely a danger present, we need to react with fight or flight. And that's when adrenaline would be released and you would go into flight or fight mode. And your body would be prepared for fighting or fleeing from that potential danger. Now that's completely appropriate. But if you feel that high level of anxiety when there's nothing in your environment to be frightened of, then you know you have an anxiety disorder. But why do you feel anxious when there's nothing there to be frightened of? Well, the fact that there's nothing there to be frightened of actually isn't true, because after the initial catalyst has raised your anxiety levels, your eyes, your ears, your nose, all of the sensory organs around your body feed back to the data to your subconscious mind, the amygdala, that it collects from inside your body. So although your eyes and your ears can't perceive anything outside of your body that could be presenting a potential threat, it does read your anxious symptoms as threat. So the rapid heart rate, the faintness, the dizziness, the sweating, all of the things that you experience as anxiety symptoms are fed back to the amygdala, and it sees those as threat. So you go into an anxiety loop. Your high anxiety causes symptoms, the symptoms cause you to feel fear, the fear causes you to react with anxiety, the anxiety causes more symptoms, and so on. So you're caught in an anxious loop. And although this isn't conscious, you don't want to be frightened of these things. I think if you're honest with yourself, the symptoms and sensations and thoughts that you associate with your anxiety do provoke more anxiety. And it is this that is perpetuating your anxiety. Medication and talking therapies don't address this directly in a meaningful manner, in a curative way. So what does? Well, it's very sensible. I've done this process and I've taught hundreds of thousands of people around the world to do this process, and it works every single time because it is the solution to anxiety disorders. There is no other way of correcting an anxiety disorder. There's no other anxiety disorder help anywhere in the world other than by using this technique, because whether they've used my method happened across a method by mistake, or life circumstances have come together to produce a curative effect, regardless of how it's been done, they have done exactly what I'm about to tell you to overcome their anxiety, without exception since the dawn of time. This is absolute fact. The only way to eliminate anxiety, the only anxiety disorder help that you can receive, is to receive a targeted and supportive program of anxiety elimination, which forces your amygdala to receive data from your sensory organs that convinces it that you are safe. And the way to do that is a very structured anxiety elimination program. We've put it together as the Lindenmethod program, regardless of whether you do the Lindenmethod program or whether you happen across a technique or device in your normal life, and all of these circumstances come together to produce the same effect, is irrelevant. What I've done is I've identified a definite way to put together a curative process that works every time. And if you do it, it can't fail to work because it is the solution to anxiety disorder. So if you're looking for anxiety disorder help, you've just found it. And I hope you give us the opportunity to show you just how successful the Lindenmethod is, and why doctors, hospitals, psychologists, psychiatrists and other mental health practitioners from around the world refer clients to us, because they've identified through seeing other people recover that the Lindenmethod provides this structured and targeted anxiety elimination process. Thank you for your time. Take care.